Welcome, everybody. Nice to see so many has taken Wednesday afternoon with us. And we'll run through a short webinar for about half an hour. And practically, my name is Daniel. I'm Commercial Director of Simplifai, and I have with me Eric Long, co-founder and product director of Simplifai. And we also have a second Daniel with us who organizes a bit of things for us on the side. And he will also cover the chat function, which if there's questions and anything basically, but questions primarily probably, please use the chat and we'll gather them up at the end. And if there are questions that are too long or complicated to actually write them in full, we will of course open up for a oral question, and we'll do that at the end. So note your questions, and we'll pick them up. We will of course try and record this. We will record this if it's watchable in the aftermath. Time will tell, but you could of course have a copy of the recording. Okay, so as of today, we'll just briefly introduce you to Simplifai. We have seen that some don't necessarily know us, so we'll introduce you to Simplifai before we dive into the topic of today, how to utilize our email bot to enhance an RPA solution. And Eric will cover that in detail and some references. And that's basically it. When I say in detail, we could probably spend even more time discussing the actual details of this. But the goal of today is to give you an overview of how this can be done. And we are, of course, open for discussing use cases and business opportunities if you have which you would like to discuss further. Simplifai is I think this works, Eric. I can control Eric's screen, so I'll click and
one more time. Now you just assume control.
Here we go. So Simplifai is a Norwegian-based IT company working to simplify processes using AI, which is the vision of the company, applying AI to the future workforce. And we believe that AI will be our next revolution also in how we organize our businesses. But the basis of the company is to create solution-based, standardized products. So we're a product-focused company, primarily based out of Eric's vision of how this is to be done. And our goal is to actually avoid costly implementation projects, even though all project deliveries need a project. And we believe that we can build products which are relevant for any industry or job function. Of course, the bigger or lesser business case, but basically we see that our products have potential almost everywhere in different functions. Simplifai is a company, as I said, as the HQ here in Oslo. We have a primary data science team working also out of Ukraine and a bigger office in India where our R&D delivery and development has it set forward. Let's see if I can click past. So we believe that AI is to be the next revolution in how we can organize things. And basically because the machine learning capability we can utilize gives our robots and softwares more functionality and possibilities than we have seen before. And as such, we've just seen the start of this. So we don't really see everything that is to come, and we don't necessarily see all the end products, but we believe that we're early on in utilizing this potential in creating business solutions. And we believe that our bots will, as before, handle standardized and repetitive tasks, and hopefully people can focus on things that are sensitive and complex and where we can actually really add value. And we see that the potential which we add in of using AI gives the bot more potential to do even more than what they have been could have done before. In some of the cases we've seen and with the customers we have already been working with, we see different entries to why they go into projects. But of course, cost reductions, we see customers who actually get triple-digit returns. We see solutions that break even in 6 months, so very easy to get their investments back. We see huge quality improvements. both in the classical industries, but everywhere. Avoiding errors is a very, very costly thing to be able to get errors out of the way. So, and not least scalability, to be able to scale business fast and with low cost, it's a huge effect, especially in these post-corona days where some see peaks and some see the need to scale down. So both in peak periods to be able to add more capacity, but also the ability to grow your business at the minimal cost is a huge potential for many. And then in the customer service, customer satisfaction area, we see customer service desk being able to respond within minutes or not to say even in seconds. And we see the ability to actually be open 24/7 and to offer service to customers 24/7 is a huge, huge potential for many. In the end, Simplifai has taken this out into different products. We have 3 core products which we utilize. The chatbot is a different chapter, but that's also been in market for years. Our newest product, which is probably the most exciting product and which is the topic of today, is our email bot, which is accompanied by the document bot, because most emails actually do have attachments, which also can gain and be of business value. And then we package rule engines to facilitate automation. And then, of course, handling execution of these are either integrations, APIs, or RPA, which is one of the connecting solutions which this webinar will handle. And we see that a lot of entries to our business comes from some of these potentials. So from that, Eric will dive into the email bot and the potentials of integrating that into the RPA.
Yes, thank you, Daniel. So email bot is our flagship product, and unlike the way the AI hype have been, we have taken our language engine one step further than just processing a simple sentences that usually what the chatbot receives, and we have expanded on that, handled the complication in order to build the AI-based language engine that can process a large block of text that usually exists in emails and documents. In an email, you have a lot more text. They usually involves having a lot of information, sometimes even multiple topics. So these are the complexity that we have to dealt with when we built an email bot. And we have built it using, of course, the AI approach. We would be building the language engine that has the fundamental understanding of the language in order to be trained to understand any emails that exist from most industries. And that is what differentiates ourselves from most of the email handlers in the past that are focusing on rules, keywords, regular expressions. If you find this keyword, then we will read the next 3 words, etc., etc. We don't deal with that. That's what gives us the flexibility when we can have an email bot that not just would work from day one, but it also will grow with the business. It will learn to adapt to new ways of writing and also probably new topics as well. Now, having a very good language engine itself is not enough. An email bot is built with not just the engine, but also the interface where it will be very easily to train. It would also have to have the integrations with different back office systems in order to execute on the tasks. And it also needs to be able to have a rules engine that can allow to incorporate some of the business rules in order to do the right thing for the right type of inquiry. Last but not least, we will also have a dashboard, which is our way of proving that the effect of the email bot has to your organization, whether it is how many inquiries has been processed, what are the breakdowns of the different inquiries, what had been done to those inquiries. All of that will be visible in our dashboard. So when we were talking about training an email bot, the term we use is called tagging. Instead of defining what kind of keywords that we will be looking for in an email, we would simply have an interface that kind of looks like what you have now on the screen. Is that us as a human, how would we mark the email with the information the way we would have read the email? Yes, this is the key customer name, this is the customer number, this is the address, and this is the inquiry. And then, of course, for the whole email, this is how I would have classified this email as someone who wants to be a customer, someone who wants to upgrade their subscription, etc., etc. There are many different ways of defining how one would have read the email. But ultimately, we'll keep it simple by processing the email on two levels. Number one, we classify the email. We understand what type of inquiry it is. Is it a complaint? Is it a customer inquiry, wants questions? Is it someone who wants to be a customer, someone who wants to resign from their subscription, etc., etc.? You classify them. And for each type of classification, there are certain sets of information you need to retrieve. If someone wants to be a customer, you need the customer information like address, phone numbers, email, name. But if it is somebody who wants to upgrade their subscription plan, you need the customer number or customer name, and then you will need the information about which subscription they want to change it to. If you want to be able to process someone who wants to ask a question, you need to understand the question, you map it, and then you will need to reply with the question. So there are different types of categories, matches with different types of information, and thereafter will be matched to different actions. Now, when it comes to the training, the one significant advantage emailbot has over the other, the chatbot, is that for emailbot, you do not need to come up with examples. You don't have to envision how someone would ask the question. You have all the historical emails in your email box that you could use for the training purpose. And the way it's been done, it's very user friendly, that you double click on the words that you need to be marked, and then you have the shortcut key that are predefined on what kind of information they are. So it takes at most 30 seconds to tag one email, and we need as little as 100 emails to get started. Of course, the more, the better, but it just shows that training up an email bot to work for you is something that would take weeks at most. It does not take months. Now, when it comes to the action flow, this is the way that we have predefined for each of the identified type of inquiry. What do we do with it? Now, combining it with actions such as reply to a customer, you forward the email to a colleague, or you can call an API of your back office system to feed the information over. All of that can be done here. And you will see the diamonds on the flow chart, which defines decisions. If the customer has supplied the information, you'll go ahead and process. If the customer has left something out, you will reply to the email by asking for the missing information. Maybe if someone is applying for a loan to the bank, and if the loan amount is higher than X number of million, then it would be forwarded to the department manager or the team lead instead of being processed by a regular customer service representative. So that is a very powerful and flexible, yet very simple to understand. As you can see on the GIF, then it is basically a few drop-down clicks, and then you will have set up these boxes. Now, that's one aspect of the integration. As Daniel has mentioned, we also work really well with the RPA. Now, of course, when RPA comes into the picture, it will be done in a slightly different way. But we also see that RPA has become very popular in many industries now in order to automate the tasks. However, RPA has also its limitations. It is completely trained based on existing facts and rules, and it makes interpreting an email something naturally is outside of what RPA is capable of. And we have had many inquiries based on exactly on that particular problem. So it is also coincidentally, of course, that Gartner has coming up with the name hyper-automation, which is defined as using RPA, but combining it with a smart solution to extend on the capability of what an RPA process can do. Now, I assume a lot of you who have joined the call today already have some experience or know what RPA, robotic process automation, is about. I'm going to, based on my description of today's presentation, based on that fact. Now, for anyone who uses RPA in their business process, RPA dominates the process itself. So then it would be completing the task from start to finish. Now, in the case of email or incoming inquiry that needs to be processed by RPA, then what most of the time it has been done is that you have somebody who have read the email, punch in the information in an Excel or in some systems where the data is already structured, and then the RPA bot will process from there. But the part of reading, understanding, and interpreting the email or the incoming text inquiry, it doesn't necessarily have to be an email, but it could be just a block of text from the web form, comes in with the live history on there. That part is still manual labor at this moment. So imagine combining an email bot with RPA in that settings, you would have complete the process from A to Z. So it's very simple. Our email bot, not only can it consume APIs from any back office system like Dynamics or Salesforce, but it also exists itself as a REST API. So an RPA process can call our email bot with an email, with a block of text, and you'll get back structured information on what type of inquiry it is about and the information that the email bot has extracted from the email. And from there on, the data is structured enough, the RPA can take that information and process it further. There are no installation. Simplifai email bot is a SaaS tool, so it exists in the cloud. You get a username, password. You use that to train this the email bot using the studio that we just shown, and then it will be able to be consumed like any REST APIs. Now it's robust, it's simple. For different mailboxes, you can have different mail bots, and then it would just be each of them existing as an API that you can call within your RPA process. And the best thing is, it does not matter whether you have already started your RPA project or you are looking to start one. Whether you can, of course, plan the implementation of the RPA bot, knowing that there is a tool out there from Simplifai that can process the emails, or you can extend on the RPA process with the call to the email bot in order to handle the text inquiries. And of course, the scalability is very important, because for any industries that are starting with RPA, they quickly escalate from 1 to 3 to 5 to 10 processes on RPA. And it is also equally important for the email bot to be scaled accordingly. So whether it is one bot to serve multiple processes or multiple bots serving different processes, that's the advantage of a SaaS product in email bot. It matches with any scaling architecture. So how does this look? If we were talking about how does exactly an email bot work with an RPA process? I've drawn a little diagram here. It's very primitive, but it does the trick of illustrating. You can imagine that within the rectangle is the RPA process. They're usually implemented, or the bot at least resides in the local architecture of a business. You might have an orchestrator of UiPath calling from the cloud, but all in all, the bot resides in the server. So from there on, you can, for example, have a process that reads the email, validate the email, run it through the business rule, and then decide on what to do with it. So you will fetch the email from the email server using the RPA. There's tools for that. There's activities for that. With that information about the email, you would then call the email bot, which resides in Azure, Microsoft in Europe. And then from there on, you will get the email information. For us, it's a JSON format. So you will have categories. You have different informations that are predefined in your email bot. And then when you have the structured information, then you can process it further in reality any way you want. And then based on there, you can define actions such as to register information into your back office, CRM, core systems, or you can archive it into SharePoint, or you can simply forward or reply an email using one of the standard email templates. There are no limitations thereon. As we realize, the biggest problem that customers are facing is how do they interpret incoming text inquiries? And that's exactly what emailbot is doing to resolve that issue. So if we take it one step further, here is a sample diagram that we have drawn. This is what I asked my RPA developer. Try connecting to our email bot using UiPath, and how would you have done it? So this is basically what he has done. He has a simple get Outlook mail message activity connecting to the email server, receives it, and then makes a post request to our email bot. that exists as a REST API. And from there on, you will have the information that is needed to process it any further. And we just made a very simple flow diagrams to illustrate the differences. But what if you don't use UiPath? Okay, fine. We have alternative, Blue Prism, which are also in many ways are very similar. They have some subtle differences in the way they are looking at the activities, but it would be the same. You'll still have an action that fetch the email from the email server. You'll still call the email bot REST API in your HTTP request. And then from there on, you still have a JSON object to work with that allows you to do anything with it. So if there's any question, feel free to leave it on the chat, and then I'll get to them also a little bit later. But using this approach, we have already implemented a couple of projects for some customers who are keen on using RPA, but also needs the help on analyzing the incoming inquiries. So one of them is Fretex, which is of course the subset of the Salvation Army. They have chat and email through our partner loyalty with our technology. And for some of the tasks that they have identified, they would need to operate on their backend system and their CRM system. And with that, we have helped them to implement the RPA part and also to connect the email end to the RPA. So this was a relatively simpler case, as in most of the needed work is to classify the incoming email. But even so, within a month, we have managed to automate 83% of the incoming inquiries. And after now 3-4 months up in production, we are already above 90%. So had it been only on the RPA alone, then the rules can still be set. We can still be looking for keyword and regular expressions, but we would expect the automation rate to be much, much lower, which has been the case with OSM ship management, which is our the most complex combination email bot RPA project that we have delivered. They actually have 6 bots from us. One of them is an email bot with the ability to handle attachments. And then there's 5 RPA bots that are working on the back end that are receiving the inquiries from the email bot on a consistent basis. And then whenever they read the incoming inquiry, they would then be classifying what that is about. And then they would forward it to the correct bot with the information in a structured manner so that the RPA would process that part and register them into the backend system, which at this moment, they don't have a functioning API. So RPA became the way of doing that. And for the whole project, though it is very complex, but as we mentioned, training is not an issue. We can easily train it up. And then for the RPA part, we also managed to deliver them reasonably quick. So in 4 months, they have a functioning bot-to-bot team that are working together in order to automate their incoming inquiries. So for both cases, the main focus has been, of course, on cost reductions. But we would also like to add that the business case is a lot more stronger if there is a growth mindset of business would like to grow, but it would be a challenge in recruiting in a correlation of the growth of the business. So it's much easier now with a bot like this that would make them help with the scalability of any businesses. I think that is what I have of a message today. We can also handle some questions. We have a couple minutes left.
2 minutes left. Well
yes.
done, Eric. I don't see too many. We don't have too many questions at the moment. Anybody who would like to raise a hand or say would like the ability to speak? So just say the word. This, of course, has been a brief reference explaining how we could connect the email bot to an RPA. So if you have an RPA or thinking about it, deliver it or use it today, this could be a very, very useful enhancement and absolutely expand the business case already created on the basis of actually acquiring the RPA, which is what we see in a lot of instances. We, of course, have more references on how to use an email bot standalone. And if you want ideas of how to implement RPA, don't hesitate to ask. We have partners working with it. We have skills ourselves, but primarily we have partners who knows both RPA very well. and who knows our email bot and how to connect the dots and create very, very solid automation.
So it's very simple with 2-3 weeks of work training up an email bot and connect it to your RPA process. It's couldn't get any simpler than that.
Good. Oh, we have a question, Eric. How nice.
Nice.
Hi, I'll read it out. Do you have any community edition where you can try the email bot?
That's a question to you, Daniel.
There's a question to me. Yeah. Okay. Well, we don't have a like UiPath. Obviously, with reference to what the UiPath has. Well, we don't necessarily have that, but we have the ability to give you a potential test version if there is a need or a use case you would like to test out. So feel free to reach out to us, and we'll give you the access to this. In reference to UiPath, I'm not sure if I actually never downloaded UiPath licenses. I'm not sure if we're that flexible at the moment, but everything is available. So please just reach out, and we'll give you the access. Good. Thank you for the question. Anything else? No. So 15:30. Let's wrap it up. Thank you all for joining and for attention and for the question. Thank you. And if anything else, just please reach out to Eric or to me. We're online on LinkedIn and everywhere else. And a follow-up question, Eric, on the end. Do you have a webinar for how to handle the bot?
We do that from time to time, actually. If it is to handle the email bot.
We have a couple of other webinars which we have posted earlier about how to use it and how to actually access it. And if you test it, we also have developed the online training material of how to learn how to use the bot more in detail. So I think the answer to this is yes, absolutely. We have different tools available for that if you see a potential. And we also have people actually who could assist if there's anything. Do you have presentation files to send us? We do have something. At least we have the webinar, and we have other potential material which we could send if you wanted.
Yeah, and also today's presentation, for example.
Today's presentation we can of course forward to you if you would like it, and especially the integration between the bot and the UiPath. I don't know if we have a detailed presentation on that, Eric, do we? I think we've done that in detail before.
Nothing more than that. Of course, if you want, we can share the file of the UiPath, but the credentials are of course to us, so it still wouldn't work unless you have an email bot account to connect to it.
But anyway, we can just show you, of course, how we've done it and give you a way in. Follow-up question, Eric. Here we go. That's good. Are you planning to create a connector library in UiPath? That's for you.
Yes, we do have the ambition of making email bot available to all the process automation tool out there, and we definitely would start with UiPath and Blue Prism. So the answer is yes, but at this moment I can't say for sure when that would happen. But yes, the short answer is yes.
I think the follow-up on that question, we're planning a lot. We're just doing as much as we can.
Yes, we have.
The newest addition to our products is that they're all on Microsoft Azure App Stores and Marketplace and transactable from there. And then we're working on these connectivities into the RPA ecosystems after that. So absolutely.
Because as our product is already available as a REST API, there are only so much more simpler we can make it than the way it is right now. So that's why. But of course, if we can make it connected so well that you can access the studio directly from UiPath Studio, that might be something we would like to look into. Yes.
Good. Okay. I'll try again, and I don't have to wrap it up. I can sit here for a couple of more hours, but that probably won't be fruitful for anybody. So let's call it a day. And thank you again for participating and follow-up questions and ideas. And we'll reply to these. And we'll send out the presentation if you would like some more info or information or help. please just reply to that, and we'll get connected.
Yep.